Going.
We're off here now. Let my live. Alright, sort of thought everyone. I'll bring this inaugural meeting of the Communities and Partnerships Committee to order. I'll open this up with karakia. Tuia ki runga, tuia ki raro, tuia ki waho, tuia ki roto, tuia ki te ere tangata, karonga te pou, karonga te ao, Pomien, Guye, Tahe. So we've got a fairly short agenda today. I'll just run us through. Sorry, it's just loading on my screen. Right. Just confirm the minutes. I'll move that we can confirm the minutes of the Council.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I just noticed last night, Chair, they tabled the very last table, the voting table at the end. It's got motion carried 6-4, I think it's 6-5. There's 5 names in the against box.
Yes, self-evident in the division itself. I'm sure we got David. I've looked through and not noticed that. Thanks, Councillor Nicole. So I'll move that with such amendments. We can approve those minutes. We have a second for that. We've got Councillor Nicole. All in favour?
Aye.
All against. Motion is carried. And yeah, we didn't have anyone speak at public forum. We just have one item for consideration today. That is 9.1. which is just reporting back for that community survey action plan. So I think we've got Joe here today to take us through that. And so this is the one that we decided last time to take to every 2 years to get that baseline data. But yeah, I'll just let Joe run us through.
Excellent. Thank you. So the team's been very busy, as have all teams at RC in the past year, with this marketing communications work that to raise awareness of the work that we do, and also to promote our engagements that we've been having. Some of the highlights include the new website that we have, which kicked off in July last year. I'm very proud of that. And feedback has been really good. And hopefully things are easier to find now. We also have continued with our on-stream newsletter, which many of you will subscribe to, I'm sure, which goes out every month. And also to Matapuna, which latest edition here today, just hot off the press. We also had the Wanaka AMP show, which also went really well. We had lots and lots of people through the tent and a lot of questions and a lot of answers for people. We also did a lot in the public transport space, including marketing our electric buses and also all of the changes that are happening in public transport, which there are many. And did some started to do some quite cool stuff with video and just changing things up a bit with the content that the team's been producing. But all teams, EIT team and others, and working in the engagement space have been working very hard to assist us in our work, and it's fair to say it's been a collaborative effort. So that's the report in front of you here. That is the reporting on our Community Survey Action Plan 2024-25. And after we took a break from the survey of a year, and we're getting ready to reenact that for another 2 to 3 years in the next few months. So hopefully by the end of the year, that survey will be, we're going to alter it a bit and try to make it what teams actually want to know about from the public. And we'll be able to create a new action plan from that This is related to that 3 years of data that we collected from, I think it started in 2021 until the last survey, which was 2023, sorry. Yeah. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, so I understand we might have some decisions to make when that does come back with the proposal for this year's survey, including around costs, but that's for that meeting rather than this meeting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, costs are rising. Takes a little bit more effort these days for surveyors to get hold of people, and that's why. So yeah, we'll be bringing that back later on.
We look forward to that when it does come to the table. But in terms of this report here today, do we have any questions around the table? Yeah, Councillor Meth.
Joe, Te Matapuna is, I find it really good. It's a good document. But what sort of feedback have you had around that from the people around Otago, if any, around its value to them? And also interested in the cost to us of doing that, of getting that circular out every quarter.
It's, to be fair to say, any print output such as this is not as cheap as a digital version, but we find that people appreciate the feedback that we've had anecdotally anyway, is that people appreciate having something they can pick up and read that summarises all the latest news. When we first started doing it, we had fantastic feedback. People saying they really enjoyed it and found it relatable and easy to understand and plain language, which is a big focus for it. To be fair, we do worry about distribution models because of the fact that Post is not as good as it used to be. So we are trying to look at that and just see if there's some other ways that we can improve the numbers that this goes to. And another way is, of course, to continue that drive to get subscriptions to a digital version of it so that we can get those numbers up and correspondingly need eventually less and less of the print version. But at the moment, a lot of our rural communities, they rely on print still.
It's a bit of a dilemma. It's a bit of a dilemma, I think, isn't it, when you've got printed material as opposed to electronic sort of subscriptions.
Yeah.
I'm probably of that generation where I appreciate the printed material and the letterbox, but it must be a bit of a challenge figuring out what is the best way to deliver it.
It is, and there's only a few contractors who do it now. So again, that's really tricky. So it's about $30,000 per newsletter.
Yep.
And
For
we do
delivery.
3 or 4 times a year.
And if I could just jump in and add, so my understanding is Te Matapuna actually came out of the community perception survey results where there was reflections that people wanted print media and wanted more information. But this year's survey that we'll do in the second half of this year will be a really good opportunity to test that and get that really formal feedback. So we're not relying on anecdotal feedback. It's one of the value of doing these perception surveys, despite them being expensive as well, as we get that information.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong, I support it. It's really good.
Councillor Keller.
Yeah, just on that, what is your interpretation of Post not being as good as it used to be?
So what was that? Post.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are fewer options now. So if you want to send something by direct mail, it's really, really costly. So if you want to get people's addresses, and plus, we have the issue of the rating database, which is really only meant to be used for rates. So we then have to rely on unaddressed mail, which just goes into rural areas that are geographically targeted by a supplier. And so they will say, we can put them into every letterbox in certain areas. Or if they can't, such as Glenorchy is a wee bit of an issue, we would put that into the local store, a pile of them. So yeah, we try our best, and we're always testing with our staff as to whether or not they're getting it and where it's going. But your post is really, really expensive now.
Right, so it's cost more so than
More so, yeah.
actual ability to receive or the system to deliver, or
That's correct.
it's
Yeah.
the issue is cost.
Yep.
Thanks.
Councillor Noon?
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and thanks, Joe, for the report. My question probably relates a little bit more to what will come to council at a later date. And sort of two questions. One is around, we went from an annual survey to a 2-year survey, biannual, I suppose, survey. So I suppose question is, with that experience, going forward, do you think it's necessary to follow a similar pattern, or could it be extended to a longer period of time? That's the first question. Second question, if you were to refresh the action plan without doing a survey through information that we have through other mechanisms, i.e. annual plan, PTP, and where there's sometimes comment about how we communicate, etc., would it look a lot different? Sorry.
So the second question, I don't know if it would, because we're still doing the same sort of work, and we still have the same imperatives and goals that we need to communicate. So yeah, but I do think it's more robust if we use the survey. And to your first question, we had 3 years of data, then we had a break, and now we're going to collect. We've still got to decide whether or not it's another 2 or 3 years of data. Is that correct, Amanda?
I think the paper that will come to council,
Yeah.
there's various considerations to manage cost. So the big one would be, what frequency do we do the survey? And that could be every 2 years, it could be every 3 years. We'll provide some guidance around that. The other things in terms of managing this year's costs are things like survey length and in terms of the time taken to complete it. So that's around the number of questions and the methods used to collect the data. The other indicator of cost would be the number of respondents.
Yeah, the sample size.
The sample size. So we could bring the sample size smaller to reduce costs. So we are working through those options to put up to, because I think they're council decisions. I think the other piece I would add to it is that I would really like to see us do this next survey so that we can actually bring together kind of things you just talked about, our annual plan and strategic directions, and link it a bit closer with this community perception survey so that we're getting that joined up value. I think they all inform each other, but I think they probably, this is the, post restructure, these now all sit within my group, and really keen to see them all working together to help us have the information to inform all these different processes. So we've got some planning underway at the moment.
Sorry, Joe, and the other reason for my motivation, thinking the election's coming up, and I'm thinking, well, there's a decision that should actually be made by the new council. That was part of the reason why I asked the question.
Yeah, so we can.
We'll cover that off in the council paper.
Yeah, we've got a KPI in the long-term plan to deliver a survey and report back to council by March next year. So that is the timeframe we're working towards. But because it's not just a rinse and repeat from last time, we do need to come back to the council table and get that guidance around scope and how we manage the costs.
Thank you.
Councillor Martin?
Yeah, I'm just actually struggling with that, because yesterday we passed an annual plan, and the very next day we get a signal that we're going to be possibly asked for more money, or possibly decrease the service if we're going to stick within a budget. Is that the case, or are you trying to fit a reduced type of survey into the $50,000 budget? What's the plan there?
So subject to the guidance we've got currently, is we are working to identify options to deliver the survey within the budget, within the current within the level of service we've got and the budget we've got, which is $50,000. Yeah. But I guess that if different direction was provided when that paper comes out, obviously we would look to that as well.
Right, thank you. And a further question, yeah, so just going back to your AMP shows, and we've got a report on Wanaka. What about the what data did we collect from the other shows? Because we went to North Otago for the first time, which seemed to be reasonably active. So have you got data on those as well to show whether we should be going back or giving things another crack?
Yeah, they're occurring throughout this year. So I would think that while I don't have any data on me today, I would think that towards the end of the year, we might want to gather up all of those, all of that information from those shows. But I know that there is some monitoring occurring, and the engagement team is generally running that.
And if I could just add, Joe, so absolutely, when council approved the pilot of those 8 strategic events, we undertook to provide monitoring, evaluation and report back at the end of the year once we've worked through the full series of those. So there will absolutely be data come back to council on the effectiveness of that.
Thank you.
Series.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions around the table around this reporting back? No. Okay. Would anyone like to move the recommendations? We've got Councillor Robertson and seconded by Councillor Wilson. Would you like to speak, Ed?
I just want to say thanks for the report and to the table which outlines a lot of key progress that's been made. I just wanted to note that I think we've made really really impactful and rapid progress in communicating what we do. It's so much better than it was even a shortish time ago. So there's always more we can do, as we know, and we can build on where we are now, but it's going in the right direction. Absolutely. I like the use of plain language, of visuals, of communication in a style that people can connect with. I think you're right. People enjoy the style of Te Matapuna, but many other platforms as well. I was revisiting yesterday our most popular videos that we've posted and reminding myself of all the different topics that are there. And some of our staff have become quite famous out there in the world of YouTube, etc. 157,000 views for Harbour Master team on one of those videos. That's pretty huge. So there's some great work that's going on. People connect with it. It's meaningful for people's everyday lives, and we just need to build on that. Particularly in the science team, I noticed the points there, straight up bullet point from the community saying that they would like to more around water quality and climate change. But I think it probably goes wider than that in terms of some of the science stuff that we produce, and really encourage the team there. There's some great initiatives that have been implemented, looking at the museum and how they communicate and learning and sharing ideas. Really want to encourage the team to give that more of a go. At the moment, we've got quite a lot of uncertainty, I suppose, in the world and what people are going to be needing to adjust to. But the environment is the environment, and it's saying what it's saying. So we just need to be clear and present where we're at. And I think it'll give people a lot of stability and courage to continue doing the awesome stuff that they're doing out there in communities, looking after the environment, if we present that picture and help them with that. So yeah, just really encouraging the team, and the community needs that info. So thank you.
Councillor Noon.
Yeah, I think that all these initiatives that have been implemented have helped to lift the profile of the organisation. And I remember before I was elected to the council, I didn't really know what ORC did in terms of all their regulatory responsibilities. Understood the basic ones, but and maybe I was just a little bit ignorant at that stage. But people have said the same thing to me over time. But I think with these sorts of actions, we're reaching out to people, whether it's, at local AMP shows or it's at various other community events or whatever. We're trying to interface at a time when they're available, so to speak, which I think is really important. But I think the key one is the website upgrade. You know, we're now got something we can be proud of. Not that the original was anything like that we were probably proud of when it was set up, but we'd moved well beyond its capability and requirements, I suppose, to keep our community well informed. So yeah, no, good work. Cheers.
Thank you, Councillor Noon. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak on the motion? Alrighty, I'll jump in there and then go back to the mover and seconder if they want a right of reply. Yeah, I did think it's really great that we're progressing all the actions listed in there and even just in general with our comms seems to be coming out with a lot more dynamic stuff, still sticking with the sort of traditional methods of communicating, but also adding a whole lot more on, you know, social media and you mentioned videos and stuff like that. I think we do need to be telling the story of what we're doing as a council, especially as conversations, you know, nationally around the purpose of regional councils come to the fray. It's important that we are communicating all the important functions that we're serving and how we're meeting community needs, where people's money is going and all of that. And I also think it is important for us when we put effort into Kia ora Council laws, put effort into developing information and investing in science, that we're also taking the efforts to communicate that science with the public as well. So really proud of how we've stepped up in the communication space, how we've responded to those community needs. I think if there was anywhere that I think I'd be keen to see more of in the future, it'd be around joining up those gaps where there could be comms sort of across parts of the organisation that might not otherwise interact. And the thing that is always in my mind is those posters that we got from the science team around different species, and we'll continue to get those science communication tools that are really, really fun to look at and informative and based on the hard work of people in the science team, and getting those out to even say in the transport space, like on posters on buses and stuff, for people to improve their customer experience while they're on a bus, but also do science communication with the science work that we're doing. But really proud of everything in here. So excited for us to.
I'll just add that your gecko post was one of the most popular.
Thanks for that. Do the mover and seconder want to add anything to that, or have a right of reply there?
No thanks.
All good. Alrighty. Put the motion then. All in favour?
Right.
All against? Motion's carried. And with that, we're done with the inaugural meeting of the Community and Partnerships Committee. Very quiet morning, but thanks everyone. I'll leave us without a karakia as we move into other meetings today, but I'll close the meeting.